Reverend Sharon Flynn is a minister with the Metaphysical Chapel of Life and has been a chapel member since 1994. In 1999, she became a Novitiate Minister through the Metaphysical Chapel of Life, and in 2002, she was fully ordained under the auspices of our charter church, the Church of Enlightenment. She has owned and operated Hypnosis and Healing Centers since 2002, locally and in other areas, using her gifts and abilities as a spiritual director and consultant, an advanced energy healer, a certified hypnotherapist, and a teacher of classes and workshops. Sharon's prior career in the medical field as a radiology technician of 25 years helped shape her natural healing abilities and understanding of the human form. Here at the chapel, she is our minister who oversees spiritual healing, teaches spiritual healing classes, and also facilitates seasonal celebrations at chapel. She has experienced several NDEs, near-death experiences, as well as numerous expanded spiritual experiences that guided her on this path of alternative healing modalities and facilitating change and soul growth in others. She is blessed with 3 grown married children, 2 sons and a daughter, with 3 grandsons and 1 granddaughter. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Sharon Flynn to the podium.
Oh, thank you, Dina. All right. So I'm going to start off with prayer, but I will talk about something, the solstice, before I get started with my talk today. So let us pray. Father, Mother God, Heavenly Creator, I ask for the connection to be made to the higher self as we connect to that presence. I ask for the angels, the guides, and all loving beings of the light that are here today to guide my words, my actions, my choices, my thoughts, and to utilize me in this connection to the source, so all will become the light. Amen. So we celebrated solstice early this year, which I didn't know that. Somebody told me yesterday, and I knew it was the strawberry moon because Lori, but usually solstice is on the 21st. This is the earliest celebration of solstice, or the earliest moment when it became solstice, since 1796. So 1796. So that was when George Washington was hanging out. So 200 years is a pretty interesting viewpoint of this solstice. I feel like it was very powerful. And even if you didn't celebrate it, you can still celebrate it because it's a full moon still. And we've got lots of energy to go around. And I don't know about y'all, but this energy is just whipping my butt. I find myself not being able to do all the things I used to do. And also regulating most people probably understand, but we're all becoming more and more empathic and high sensitive. So if you go, oh, I don't go in crowds anymore, that's why. There's a lot of things that will create this expansion. So, we are moving into a evolution of the consciousness. So know that we're all working together. If you understand, we're all working together to expand our reality, to leave behind the dark energy, moving into the light age. So just give you a heads up, the structures that you see that have been created in the dark time are now going to be recreated in the light. So, and each one of you are going to be a part of this. And this was a blessing to all of us to be here at this time. We chose it, believe it or not. And we are part of the orchestration of the New Age. So I'm going to kind of pause and jump into the lecture that I wrote it this morning. And it was a very short, sweet lecture, but I am going to talk about you being in the present of your presence, the presence within you. You are the light, and that's what that means, that we're all a part of this connection to source, connection to God, connection to the creator. And they're all the same. You know, when I say those, everybody, some people like that term God, some people like the term creator, sometimes people like just the light. So that's why I interweave them together. So one of the major things I find difficult in this moving into this new age is, do we take enough time for ourselves to resettle into who you become? I don't know about y'all, but time is moving fast. And it's almost like with this expansion of our energetic field, when we walk by somebody, we pull their energies with us, if you get my drift, okay? Anytime you walk by somebody, anytime you have a connection to somebody, we interweave our energy with their energy. And it will change you, it will change them, it will change that presence within you. So know that when we go into that exchange of others within us, we have to work through it and integrate it, and we have to release it and do all this work around it. So what I've noticed, and it doesn't take very long to notice this, is that you can just go out to a restaurant and know that everybody's in their phone. Well, that's a great diversion of not doing anything for yourself. It's a great diversion and a great distraction. We are avoiding who we are. We don't even know who we are. One of the major things I've noticed in my work is that people come in and I go, I'm lost. I don't know who I am. And it's because we're not keeping up with this integration in this world, in ourselves. So it really is a very important focus, is to take enough time for yourself to resettle. And when I say resettle, it means that the changes that you've taken place in just even one day are pretty paramount. I think that we're changing that rapidly. So so there is plenty of distractions. Who gets lost in YouTube? I do. Who gets lost in a TV show or movies or any cable shows? The list is never ending. People like games and things like that. Obviously that list is what I get lost in. Everybody else may get lost in games or shows or whatever. So it's easy to divert our attention away from that connection to spirit, our spiritual side of us. Just a little funny part, how many people watch cat and dog videos? I know I do. How many people, I even get down to the point of watching this woman that has 8 children, and she does this wonderful job of helping them become very respectful, honest little kids. She's just fascinating to me. I wish I had known her about 50 years ago, really. So, everything can be a distraction within ourselves, not paying attention to ourselves. So this is why I felt really pushed to talk about to take time for your spiritual wellness. It's just like your health. It's just like about the food you eat. It has to be a priority as we move into this new age. So, anyways, one of the things that this major distraction, I think, would be really helpful to spend a certain amount of time outside, because outside is super important for us. And I don't use my Apple app very much. Major distraction this morning is why I was late, is I couldn't print out my lecture on a piece of paper. So I had to use my Apple. And what I did, this is so pitiful, I took a picture of it in this.
Technology, yeah.
And I couldn't get my printer to work. It sometimes happens. So one of the things that I find to get undistracted, if you get my drift here, is, I believe there's at least 3 things that we can do to take time for us. Number 1 is to get out on the earth right now. Get out in the sun. Sun is the light that we are composed of, those little tiny neutrinos. Okay, these are little tiny particles that hold God's energy. And if we sit, and I have an 8 o'clock connection to my chair out in my deck, that's when I know that the sunlight will be shining right on it. I go take my coffee or my juice, and I go sit out there and I meditate to bring in that light. Just to bring in that light. I don't think of anything else. I just feel the warmth of the light. I allow it to go in. I allow it to start at the head, and just like a waterfall of light, and just rain down into every cell in my body, and until I can feel that warmth. It could be 2 minutes. It could be 1 minute. It could be 5. So that is very, very helpful, because if you realize we've got an energetic field around us, and as we bring in the light to the energy field, it will then come in and bring in that presence of the light. Okay, the presence of the light is your presence of God within you. So that's really helpful. And if you do that emotional part of you, we have to process these emotions that we're feeling. We have to bring in these wonderful connections to this light, and feel those emotions, because emotions, I always talk about this, emotions are moving through. We have to move through them. If we store them, they just that drawer just gets fuller and fuller and fuller. And then we have this immediately explosion that we don't know is coming, a trigger, if you would. And so the emotions, we need to take some time. You can take it in the shower. You can take that moment in the shower to wash those, to feel them, to know that you're feeling them. And then you can wash them out. You just feel them. So we need to take the time, as it's going by so fast, and to connect to the physical form with the mental, emotional form, to process, integrate, and acknowledge those emotions, those feelings, those experiences. I'm going to kind of take a stage right. It was very evident on Wednesday night that I needed to leave where I was. I went to Port Warwick and put down my chairs, got something to eat, and came back, and I couldn't even get to my chair. It was that crowded. And I go, oh, okay. Well, I saw a few people I knew, and I was okay. And then I moved over to another area, took my chair with me, and moved to another place where I knew a lot of people. And even there, I go, I think it's time for me to leave. I was there for about an hour, and that was all I could take. And I even shut myself down. I'm not shut myself down. Let me put it this way. This is what I do when I get in a crowd. I put 4 angels all around the space and fill it up with light. Then I put a tube of light on me that goes 300 feet above me, 300 feet below me, and I walk through a tube of light. And I don't think I'm very claustrophobic, but I felt that very strongly that day. And I also felt the disconnect of people there, because they were using music as a distraction. So all that stuff stored in their energy field was very evident to me. And like I said, you walk by somebody, I call myself a transmuter of the vibration. Okay, if you transmute people's energy, then you're changing their vibration. Okay, and they're changing yours. But I see it as a bug zapper. So the bug zapper will zap that vibration that's low to a higher frequency, and then that connection works, you know. But I haven't been in a crowd in probably 2 years that's that big. And anyways, I learned a lot about what other people were feeling that day too. Just like I said, one of the surges that I see in people is that they feel lost. And so they're always looking for something outside of them. And that's truly something that I feel like is happening. I'm distracted because I can't get back to that little, see? So sorry about that. All right. So I'm going to jump back to how we process. So if anybody's had some of those kind of off the wall experiences of feeling overwhelmed and super high sensitive and super empathic, you'll know that if you go out in a crowd, be pre-created and actually, you know, do your best to stay in it for whatever time frame. But so this is going to be a very interesting time as we move forward in this light. So we're all kind of converging into a spiritual reality, but we will have to go through a lot of interchange. And so it's kind of interesting, Dina, you talked about grief. Well, if we're changing, our world's changing. We're going to go through a lot of emotions. So just be aware of that. And if you process those emotions regularly, like I said, it could be just in the shower. It could be right before you go to bed. So the emotional processing, I believe, is the most important thing to do. There are a lot of, there's a difference between how men process emotions and how women process emotions. And men generally, they just feel that they have a drawer and they stick those emotions in there. And really, most women now, if you're in a corporate situation at work, you're not going to be feeling your emotions. You're going to stick them somewhere and store them somewhere. Okay, you know, because that's not acceptable in a lot of emotional places. I mean, a lot of workplaces. So utilize going home, utilize, you know, your time frame where you can process your emotions. And also, we're also processing the emotions with the mental. And we have to look at what those emotions mean to us, what they teach us about ourselves. And that's what the integration is all about, is that you understand your own reaction, you understand the situation and understand what you're learning about yourself in your world and in the wounds that you have. So we all have wounds. They're all going to be coming out and looking right at us through situations that we're going to come across. So we are moving away. One of the structures that are within us is the ego mind, and the ego mind does do a really good job of separating us from source. It is also a part of our personality, but it was integrated in us. And I believe the original humans were direct source to God. We had a direct source, and we can have a direct source right now by existing and operating out of the heart center. But the ego mind, as it starts to diminish, is not going to give up too easy. It's not going to give up. So you're going to have to switch over from the mental mind focus to the heart center focus, back and forth all day long. And the best way to connect to your heart center is to connect to your gratitude and your thankfulness. In fact, that's the major thing that we can move to throughout the day, is to go from, when we're not happy about ourselves, and there's 3 things that we can do. And you'll know, because it's usually an inner war, a judgment, inner conflict. And they usually have the basis of fear, blame, and shame. I know this is the same thing I always talk about, but it's still important, because it is, you're going to be in the ego mind when you have that. They blame, shame, and fear. Okay. So once we realize, oh, those are an old wound, or those are the old processes that, the bottom line, it always goes back to your childhood. And it's not so much about blaming situations in your childhood, it's just recognizing and acknowledging, oh, I have that wound. Okay, I recognize it. It's my weakness. And I'm realizing that the more you look at that wound and more, how do you understand, the more you understand it, the more that it will actually start to fade away. Going to go back to my childhood to bring this kind of full circle. My mother was a very kind person until my father divorced her and left. And I had this full realization that, why did she pick me as the triangle child? And in the last couple of months, I had a good realization that I was a lot like her, not like my dad. Okay. And she always accused me of being like my father. And now I'm laughing about it, because I was just like her. I was the strong one. I was the one that wouldn't take any crap. I mean, I confronted her all the time, and I wondered why she confronted me. So I bless her. She was such a teacher for me about what I needed to learn about myself. She was a teacher because she showed me how strong I was, how I wasn't going to take in, you have to respect me. I claimed that. And so I did have that conflict, and I didn't respect her either, in the conflict. Everybody fights about something, and it's usually about lack of respect, isn't it? It's kind of interesting. They don't hold themselves up to a certain higher frequency. So know that in this situation, I learned so much about me through my mom and what she taught me about how to claim my power. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I always became the victim, but she taught me so well that I wanted to help myself. I wanted to understand it. And because of that full circle, then I did the work on me, and it led me to where I am now. So it was, I think of her and lots of love and lots of peace. So if you have a teacher in your life, look at what they taught you. So we really need to understand our experiences are just an exchange of energy to help us learn about ourselves. And so how do we cope with this expansion that's going through us right now, going through us, through the earth, through this new time? Understand your experiences, understand what your worth is, what your value is. Understand your part and how this exchange is taking place in your life, your wounds, and acknowledge those emotions, acknowledge what you learned from those experiences about yourself, and life will get a lot easier. And just even be grateful for these, what you would term an uncomfortable experience, or just an experience. You can be even grateful for the things that aren't working in your life. I'm very grateful for the computers. I just realized that I had terrible judgment of it. So as we walk through this world in the next 5 years, we're really gonna see a whole different world. So how to cope? So there was 3 things. process your emotions, process your mental thought patterns. And when I say that, that's about judgment and criticizing and needing to know why, and then integrate what you understand about yourself in those situations. And it will be easier. It will be a lot easier for you. So one of the things that I always like to do is when I get caught up in a rut, if you would, or a lull. A lot of people are in a lull right now. They're not who they're going to be. They aren't who they used to be. They're not who they're going to be. So you're in this place, in this, processing place, if you would. And if you're in that lull, even be grateful for being in this place of expansion, a place of integration. I mean, we're reforming who we are. And it's very, very, I think it's very exciting, but it's also very challenging. So as we work through that, I always like to do a little affirmations. So when you get caught up in something and you want to go back to your heart center, just come up with an affirmation. The one that I really love, and I think it was Nolan that talked about I am. And my favorite YouTube video lady that I watch is Blossom Goodchild. And she channels the Federation of Light, and very, very full of wisdom beings of light. So they always come up with this, she comes up with this phrase, I am the light, I am the love, I am the truth, I am. And that's so easy to say. And the other thing, the other little coin, this phrase I like to is stop, breathe, and connect. That's easy too. Stop, breathe, and connect with this world. So take time for you. You're important. Everyone is important. So come up with your own mantra, and that allows you to immediately connect to your higher presence within you. And it's so this energy is not going to get any easier, unfortunately, but you can also connect to the earth, connect to a tree, put your feet in the grass. Beautiful time to take a swim in the ocean. Do things outside as much as you can, because good old earth has blessed us with already integrating and processing this energy. And so you can feel that energy coming in around you and giving you like a big hug. So I just love, and another thing that we're bombarded with that changes our energy field. Well, I could go on, make a list of this, but believe it or not, 5G, I mean, any of the electromagnetic frequencies can disrupt us too. So that's why the earth is so important, because it releases those staticky vibrations, those frequencies, computers, telephone, even I bought a newer car and I realized, oh, I'm driving around in a 5G car. I don't even hook up my phone to it anymore. And I've got the pleasure of being in a car when it was charged, those electric cars. I go, I gotta leave. So I'm never sitting in one of those again, because it can really disrupt your frequency. There's a thing you can do, just a little sidebar here, is to put some aluminum foil around where all the internet comes in, wherever your coax cable or the, whoever you have, wherever it's mounted to, you just put aluminum foil at night. You won't be able to use your internet, but that's okay. You want to disrupt that frequency. And you can also use copper wire on a lot of things too. Copper is a conductor of the positive frequencies. So I urge you to enjoy this new beginning. To me, summer solstice was a new beginning for this new growth of light. We're celebrating the light. So we're also celebrating the new earth. And when I say the new earth, the earth is not going to go away. We're part of bringing in fact, we're responsible for bringing in the light. And when I say that, we're all like batteries here. Every one of us, we're a battery. And the more we turn on our light, the higher the frequency, the higher sensitive, the higher empathic. That means your frequency is high. Okay. It's developed. Your consciousness is developed. And so the more it's just like being in a room, dark room, and I have one candle lit and everybody else has a candle, and you're going to light everybody else's candle. And that light will expand. And that's what we're doing. We are the ones responsible for this new earth coming in, the new light. So the more you shine your light on others, see the positive, get out of the head game and go to the heart, the more you'll find that peace, that connection. And we're all going to help each other home back to our heart. So many, many blessings to you, and hang in there. We'll all work together. Sending y'all love. Thank you.